The Beatles want you to listen to their secret. I have a secret. Listening is the secret to success, happiness, love, just about everything. Listening is a higher act of gratitude and appreciation. I learned the value of listening, really listening, when I became a mother. I gave birth to these 2 little cute twins, and my whole life changed. I started really paying attention. When they were small, when they were infants, I had one of those mommy phones in their bedroom. Well, I was listening one day while I was doing something, and suddenly I hear this giggling and babbling. I didn't know what it was. I thought my nephew had snuck into their room and was entertaining them. So I went upstairs and I cracked open the door, and there were these 2 little munchkins pulled up on the crib, and they were cracking each other up. They were 8 months old, and they were like, blah, 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 and they were cracking each other up. And I walked in, and they stopped, and I imitated them, and they started cracking up. What I learned was paying attention to what they were saying. I didn't know what they were saying, but listening to them and showing them that I was listening brought about great smiles. They learned the power of conversation and communication at that very early age. Later, I'm going to put this down. Later, when they were in their toddler years, I was busy, and they would come up, and I'm sure every parent in the audience has experienced this. Come up with their tiny hands, put it on my face, "Mommy, listen." And so I was forced to listen, and I'm so happy I did. Later, when they grew up, they told me that was the greatest gift I gave them. I listened to them. I showed them that I appreciated what they had to say, and they felt heard. The gift of listening is making the other person feel heard. When I was a little girl, I come from a ginormous family. Back then we were about 50, now we're easily double. Our favorite, and we were very close, our favorite holiday was Thanksgiving. When we would get together, we'd all go around the table saying, all ages from 5 to 75, talking about what we were grateful for. And this exchange of ideas, hopes, dreams, but mostly what we were thankful for, was the very glue that kept our family together. It was something it was the birth of ideas, lots of laughter, fun stories, but it was something that kept us together. One of our favorite guests at that time was Kadakin I. He wasn't Kadakin I at the time. He was just our super son. He was the Arachnort from New York, and he would come down, and he would be a star. He was not only a great intellectual, he was a great raconteur, and he would tell us all sorts of great anecdotes. One of them was this story. It was about building faith and the power of listening and paying attention. This man was in his home in a town that was being inundated by flood. He climbed up on his roof and he started praying to God to save him. This rowboat came by and he said, "Jump in." He said, No, God's going to save me. I'm praying to him. Second, a helicopter came, dropped a lifeline, said, "Climb up." He said, "Oh no, I'm praying to God. He's going to save me. And then the Coast Guard came, and he said, for heaven's sakes, jump in. He said, oh, no. God is going to save me because I'm praying to him. So he drowned. He goes up to the pearly gates, and he says to St. Peter, what happened? I was praying to God to save me. He said, God listened to your prayers, and he sent 3 people to help you. So you're dead. Own it. It's not only about praying and God listening. You have to pay attention to his answer. One of the things that I taught my kids when they were little was not to interrupt. That, little children, they have so many questions, they're interrupting all the time. And I used to say, don't interrupt. Let me finish. Listen to what I'm saying. And if you still have a question, ask it. So when they started school, they would listen to the teacher, but boy, did they ask questions. I got called into the school. The teacher said, your kids are asking too many questions. And I said, well, are they listening first? Yes. Well, are you answering their questions? Too many questions, too many questions. And I said, how are they supposed to learn if they don't ask questions? You have to listen to their questions and answer them. They'll listen to your answer, and everybody will learn. They changed lots of schools. So I'm going to tell you another story. There was the smartest, wisest man on earth. He was so smart. Everybody sought his advice. Everybody wanted to know what the secret of his life was, what his genius was. So suddenly he died. The greatest doctors, the foremost authorities on autopsy got together and they said, what do we do? This is such an opportunity. One of them said, let's open up his head. Let's see that brain. So they cracked open his head, and there was nothing there. There was a string that connected one ear to the other. And they looked at each other and they said, what is this? And one guy had the smart idea of cutting the string. So he cut the string and both ears fell off. What's the moral of the story? The secret to his genius was listening. What happens when you don't listen? Let's think about that. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone or trying to have a conversation with someone who has these noise-canceling earphones on? You're talking, you have no idea that they've got these things on, and then suddenly the person is ignoring you. You suddenly realize, this person doesn't care, he doesn't listen. I'm out. As far as he's concerned, I'm not there. How do you feel? You feel left out. You feel annoyed. It's because listening and conversation, communication is the key to everything. But it's not about listening to reply. It's about listening to get the whole meat of the matter. So what happens when you don't listen? It's like a car crash. You're driving along, and if you're paying attention and seeing what's going on, you yield. People who don't listen, they don't know how to yield. And what happens? Everybody in this audience knows. Car crashes. You know why there are so many car crashes in Armenia? Because no one's listening and paying attention. Armenia has another situation. There is a massive invasion of the Kidemjis. What is a Kidemji? It's somebody who knows it all. They've graduated from the school of Mner, M&M, That means don't listen. You work with these kidemjis, you give them very specific instructions, but they say kidem, I know. Where do you end up? Absolutely not where you want to be. What do you get in your hand? Absolutely not what you wanted. If you're in a taxi and you've got a kidemji, you end up somewhere else. Don't be a kidemji. If you're in love, it's like unrequited love. If you're madly in love and you're so in love and you're just doing everything to get this person's attention and he doesn't see you, you're not heard. You're not appreciated. What happens? You get a broken heart. It's going to be hard to fall in love again. Not listening creates a crash. When people are negotiating anything, if you don't listen to what's necessary, if you don't understand, you're going to end up in crash. Listening is the root of all that's good. Peace, love, great relationships. It's innovation, creation. When you communicate well and you're listening, you build a great team. So let's start listening. Let's make it happen.